Gehenna, also known as Gehenna in the time of Jesus, was infamous for its dark history, as the place where the kings of Judah once gave up their children to Baal. It's a valley stained with the loss of Israel's children and later became a symbol of hell itself. But when exactly did Jesus reference this place? And why did it become synonymous with hell? In Matthew chapter 5:22, Jesus warns that anyone who calls their brother or sister a fool is in danger of the fires of hell. The word Jesus used here for hell in the original Greek is Gehenna. Jesus often used everyday images to explain spiritual truth in ways the common people could understand. But the comparisons weren't just practical. They often had deeper prophetic meanings. For example, the temple in Jerusalem sat at the city's highest point, while Gehenna lay in the valley below at the lowest elevation. To reach it, you would leave through the dung gate, a gate used to carry out trash and waste from the city. Now, back at Mount Sinai, God gave Israel laws about cleanliness to prevent disease. When they settled in the Promised Land, they established this gate to move all filth out of the city and burn it. And that was a never-ending process, so the fires in the valley never went out. Thick smoke would rise from the valley, spreading a stench that filled the air, infested with maggots and rot. So how does this valley connect to Judas, and ultimately, to judgment? The Bible often compares people to cities. In Proverbs chapter 25, verse 28, it says, "A man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls." In Mark chapter 7, Jesus builds on this metaphor. He teaches that it's not what goes into a person that makes them unclean, but what comes from their heart, like greed and envy. Jesus used this imagery to warn us that sin, the spiritual filth inside us, must be removed and destroyed, just like the trash sent to Gehenna. The Lord has been illustrating these connections for quite some time. Hundreds of years before Christ, Jeremiah 19 tells us that Gehenna was also a place where pottery was made. At one point, God commands Jeremiah to break a pot in the valley and prophesy judgment over Israel for their sin. The shattered pieces symbolized that just as the pot was beyond repair, so would be the destruction of the people. And to this day, you can still find fragments of ancient pottery on the ground in the valley. So let's put all of these pieces together. John chapter 12 verse 6 tells us that Judas was in charge of the disciples' money, and he helped himself to it by stealing. When he betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver, overcome with guilt after Jesus was sentenced to death, Judas threw the silver back at the priests, as we covered in our previous video. Now, if we think about this for a moment, Judas was chosen by Jesus, yet he betrayed him for 30 pieces of silver. The land that he received was once used at the time to bury strangers, reminiscent of Matthew chapter 7, where Jesus says, "Many will say to me in that day, 'Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name, cast out demons in your name, and done many wonders in your name?' And then I will declare to them, 'I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness.'" Akeldama, a land at the edge of hell, where in the end, Judas fell both physically and spiritually into his own place of destruction. This fall echoes the story of the fallen angels. Originally in God's service, these angels left their proper place, sinned with the daughters of men, and were bound in the abyss, awaiting their final judgment. Hold on a second. Jesus actually referenced Gehenna one other time, but most readers miss it. And what if I told you that what he taught hints that before Jesus' resurrection, no one went to heaven? So, where did the righteous go before Christ rose from the dead? Watch this video next if you want to uncover the mystery of the place where all souls descended before the resurrection of Jesus Christ.